Our mission is to inspire, educate, and motivate young people across the Caribbean. This is the Vision Seekers podcast, where views collide, founded by Amanda Webley and Shawala Richards during the COVID-19 pandemic. But VSP is more than two. We are a team dedicated to seeking out and presenting solutions to the problems that matter to you through open and honest conversations. Stay tuned.
Welcome everyone to the Vision Seekers podcast. I am your host, Ariel Simmons, a scriptwriter and host of the Vision Seekers podcast. We're so happy to see you all today. And we want to introduce to you a new series called the Men Talk series, where we'll be highlighting issues affecting and centered around males. And we want to also gain the male perspective as what are the causes of these issues and how can we get to some solution. So the first topic that we'll be exploring in this series is the social impact of paternal absenteeism. Where are the fathers in the family? So we have a whole panel that I'm so excited to introduce to you. But before we go into introduction of our panel members, we'll tell you what we're going to discuss today in terms of like the points. So we're going to talk about the role of a father, the effects of fatherless homes, and how can you change this phenomenon. And remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. And we also want to get more of your suggestions as to new topics that we should explore in our podcast. For today, our quote is from Sigmund Freud. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need of a father's protection. I think that's quite deep. And I'd like to go into that some more with our participants. So, who do we have on the panel? First, I'd like to introduce to you no other than Dominic Waite, a fellow colleague of mine on the Vision Seekers podcast. Dominic, say hello to the people.
Hello to the Vision Seekers podcast. Welcome, audience.
All right. And tell the people about your nationality, what you're studying, and something that you're passionate about.
Well, thank you very much for your question, Ariel. I am Dominic Waite, as you introduced me. I am a final year student at the University of the West Indies, majoring in economics with minor in computer science. My nationality is Jamaican, and something that I'm very passionate about, advocacy. Advocacy for human rights and advocacy for a lot of different things that are not represented from marginalized cultures and ideologies in our Caribbean society and globally as well. By extension.
That's really like inspiring. Thank you, Dominic, for joining us. Also, I want to introduce you, I guess that you guys have seen before, Kareem Ishmael. Kareem, say hello to the people. And the same question to you. What is your full name, your nationality, what you're studying, and something that you're passionate about?
Hey, hello, everyone. Hello, Vision Seekers podcast. I am Kareem Ishmael. I am a Jamaican. I am a medical student at the University of the West Indies. And I am really passionate about boys' mentorship and farming, especially farming, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kareem, for joining. Oh, and I should mention that both of them are Jamaicans. And the other two guests that we have on our panel are within the Caribbean region. So just share your nationality as well and tell us if you're not studying what's and something that you're passionate about. I'm gonna start with Garvel Stanislaus. Hey Garvel, thank you for joining us today.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Vision Seeker podcast. My name is Garwood Stanislaus. I'm from the Spice Isle. Well, I can't say Spice Isle. Jamaica actually take the spice out of Grenada. Yes, it's pure Grenada right now, but we're getting it back to spice. I am studying aviation management, but not with UE, but with a company from a college, university from United Kingdom. I'm a traffic controller by trade, and basically I love interacting with my regional brothers and sisters. I think we all have the common issues, and I hope today that we will reach to some level of agreement that fathers need to take a bigger step in the kids' life. So that's all for me from Greenland.
All right, thank you very much, Barbell. Also, we have Keegan Denoon. Can you introduce yourself to the Vision Seekers podcast?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi to the Vision Seekers podcast viewership. Thank you all for having me. My name is Keegan Denoon. I am from the beautiful island of Trinidad and Tobago. I studied biology and chemistry. I also did a master's in business administration, and I'm now studying law. I am an advocate for youth development and youth advocacy. I currently work as the program administrator with the division with responsibilities for youth development and sport development on the island. So I look forward to a meaningful discussion this evening as it pertains to how we are going to ensure that we eradicate that system that we have permeating our society as it pertains to fatherlessness, and how we can do our part in ensuring that young men of our age and coming up can take back their role and responsibility in society.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm glad that you highlighted the role of fathers, because that is the first question that we're gonna go and explore. And just feel relaxed, you guys, to share like what you think and like what's really on your heart in regards to this topic. So as I said, the role of a father. Sigmund Freud, he was saying in the quote that children desire the protection of a father. So I guess we could say that is a particular role, but I want to hear from each of you, what does it really mean to be a father? And also, what is your country's expectation of fathers, and how does that align with your personal views? So I think I'm gonna give it to the guests to start us off. So we'll start with you, Keegan.
All right, no problem at all. As it pertains to Sigmund Freud's statement, a father really plays an important role in a child's life and development. There are certain things that only your father can teach you. I mean, a round of applause to the mothers who have been taking up the role and responsibilities of fathers and been doing a good job. But there are just some things that your father alone can teach you. And especially for young women, having that father figure in the house teaches you what a man should do in your life, in terms of how you should relate to a man, how a man should treat you, the roles and responsibilities a man should play in your life. It is said that a father is a little girl's first love. And so that is your first example. And for men, your father is what you will look forward to being as a man. If you're a biblical person, the scripture tells you, train a child in the way he should go, so that when he is old, he would not depart from it. Children imitate what they see. It's our innate nature to imitate what you see. And so if there is nothing to imitate, you always have a void in your life. And so you look outside for that. And that is why you see young men joining gangs and you wonder why. It is that void that they are trying to fill. Additionally, you ask, what is the responsibility or what people look forward to in a father in my country? That would be a difficult thing to conceptualize, because that would be an individualistic thing based on what you're looking for, especially in your case, Ariel, as a woman, what you're looking for in a man in terms of when you decide to have a child with him. We live in a 21st century society, and where we have young women who are independent and believe that they don't need a man in their life. They want children and they want a family, but they believe that they don't need a man in their life. And they have sometimes that mentality. And you can't blame them, especially for some of them who would have grown up in a house seeing their mother struggle and seeing probably some of the woes of having a father figure in the house, because fatherlessness doesn't only relate to when the father is absent. Sometimes the father is present and absent at the same time. And there are certain things that you can learn, and you probably have to unlearn as a young man or as a young woman from having a father in the house. And so I would probably give way for my other colleagues to contribute on the matter at this time.
Yes, like that. You raised like a and we're really going to like pick apart each point. But as I said, we want to get the perspective of the others. Okay, I'm gonna mix in a Jamaican in there. So Dominic, what would you like to add in terms of the role of a father and Jamaica's expectation, the typical expectation of Jamaicans and the role of a father?
Very good question. Thank you very much. All right. In view of your first question, what does it mean to be a father? I have to be very careful with how I define that statement, because in our world today, in our world generally speaking, people are now identifying by different genders. So I cannot say that a father is going to be a man figure in the general scheme of things. But personally speaking,
to clarify, let me then make sure it's clear. So when I'm talking about father, I mean in terms of like a biological male that participated in the conception of a child. So yes, in that regard,
yes, in that regard, I was just gonna get to that, But I was just gonna get to that. But in my regard, definitely what I look at in terms of the meaning of a father is a man figure, a male figure that children can look up to. Essentially, a provider of true masculine energy, which means that this person must be a persistent person, which means that the person must be fearless, which means that the person must be loving until death. And those are some of the attributes that young men in our world today need, which means that they are looking for somebody, or they need somebody in their life who is persistent about a particular objective, a goal, a mission, somebody that is fearless in achieving such, somebody that can push past all their fearlessness by being loving, because the opposite of fear is love. That's for me. Essentially. Okay. You also asked the other question.
Jamaican view of fathers. The Jamaicans view of the role of fathers, the expectation of fathers. Does it align with your views
of a father? Well, yes. Keegan mentioned. Okay. Yeah. Well, Keegan just mentioned now that it's an individualist perspective in terms of what is the conscious expectation of being a father, because definitely speaking, every man figure is different. But in order to try to generalize the grand scheme of things, I realized that in my country, most people hold on to the traditionalist perspective of what a father should be, which is the head of a household, the provider, the protector, the shield of the family, and just to be there in a very special way to impart masculine energy for both for daughters as well as sons within the household. So that is my country. That's what I believe is the country's expectation of what a father should, and so it aligns with what I view as fathers, because I grew up in a traditionalist household, and I believe in that as well. Even though I'm a bit more balanced, but mostly traditionalist for the most part.
Okay, thank you very much, Dominic, for sharing your views. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Garvel, and I'm ask him. So, what is your view, and also Grenada, right? Grenada's expectation of fathers, and would you say like? So it's a 3-part question. I hope you can keep all of it in the back of your mind. And also, do you think that fatherless home is a phenomenon in your country?
All right, so basically I will answer the last question first. Basically, over the years in Grenada, we have seen improvement where young guys actually stepped up to be fathers. I must say, because if you look at the record pertaining to child maintenance, you hardly have those things. In Grenada, I think like if you go back to history, we have one man, the father of house of 1, 2, 3, 4 households. It's reduced right now. So I believe I'm a father. And I could tell you basically my inspiration is my kids. If I fail, they fail. So I believe a father is somebody who shows the kids success. that they could reach at any level, anytime, anywhere. To your other question is that, again, I think my answer a lot of my previous answers a lot. But I grew up in a household not with my dad, but with my stepfather. And I think where I'm at right now is because of him. Since I was, let's say 6 months, he actually told me that I could be anything I want to be. A mother could only show a son emotional path, but a father could show a son or a daughter. All right, then let me go first with the son. A son, this is what you need to be a gentleman. This is what a mother, yes, could show you how to be a gentleman, but a father could show you how to be a man. The daughter show you what a husband should be or act like. So I believe within the Caribbean, especially in Grenada, we have improved. I could say in father, I have gone to, like, when I remember when my first daughter born, going to the medical centers for her boost, that I met many young guys that are my age who actually stepped up, because in Grenada, I believe that learn from the father, and those who did not don't want to repeat history where the father is not present. And it's the same thing for me, you know. I'm not living with my kids, but I make sure every weekend I get there and teaching them how to understand life. Because I mean, women are emotional. I'm not saying women do. My mother had done a perfect job, but I believe that you need this father figure. Because I'm telling you, my career is based on my stepfather. I wanted to be a pilot by my traffic controller, close to a pilot. He always don't give up. You always need this stronghold, because at the end of the day, you need boys need to understand how to be a man, how to treat women, because we don't want to cycle repeat where the fatherless continue, because, all right, my father today, why should I stand up with my kids because my father not there? So I believe that the father figure, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a biological father or non-biological father, you need to step up as a man if you're in a woman life to show this young lady, this young man for the future that you definitely need to understand life. And I'm not saying women don't, but men actually see more than women. I'm equal gender. I think I met Keegan in Tobago. We met, right? Yes, we met in Tobago. So I believe that men definitely need to step up as fathers, because right now I'm in a relationship not with my present, not with my true mother, but with somebody. I'm with a boy, and he see me more as a father, because you know what, I show him how life is. You need to understand this, you need to understand that. My daughters, I show them how a father should be. I didn't experience a biological father, but a father is not my biological. A father is a man who could guide a child or children to a brighter future. That's my take on the whole thing there.
I like how you ended it in saying that a father is someone who guides their children, and it doesn't have to be the biological father, because that is true for a lot of persons. And in regards to the differences in terms of women's perspective and the realities of life and men, I guess we could have like a mini debate on that, but we don't want to stray too far. But yeah, I think that also how you grew up and also the experiences that you have in life also shape you. For some women, it can either make them harder, more optimistic, all kind of stuff. So it really does depend on the environment, how women express or present in society versus men. And we're gonna ask Kareem now. So I'm gonna tweak your question as well. I still want to know, what is your opinion on the role of a father from a Jamaican's perspective? And do you think that Jamaica has a problem with fatherless homes?
Thank you for the question. I'd say that on the matter of the role of a father, I think that Dominic, Garwood, and Keegan, I believe that they echo my sentiments as well, of the father being an example to his family, loving his family, caring for his family and his community. being willing to give up his life, really, for the sake of his family. But on the question of if I believe Jamaica has a problem with fatherless homes, I would say, that's an interesting question. I don't know the numbers right now, but I would say seeing pop culture, hearing friends talk about their issues at home, I do think that there is a problem, that Jamaica does have a problem with fatherless home. A great problem, maybe so, but I think that that Jamaica does have a problem with fatherless home. But that doesn't go to say that there aren't homes that have good examples of fathers. But I do believe with fatherless homes.
All right, thank you very much, Kareem. I'm gonna ask one from each group. How would you describe your relationship with your father? Garvel gave some information on his opinion, his experience. So I'm gonna ask Dominic to share what, if you had a relationship at all with your father, because you said you didn't grow up with this affect of your fatherhood.
Thank you very much for the question, Ariel. I want to be very clear, because the question that you asked, let me say that I kind of grew up with my father, but not like in a way where a lot of people would say, okay, you're going home every day after school and you're seeing your father. No. Let me just say, and I don't want to stray too much from the point you mentioned, what is my relationship with my father? This day and age, my father and I were like brethren. That's the right word I want to say. There has been certain things that have happened, and I don't want to get into the depth of it, definitely. But what I realize is that, and I think that this is an ideology that we can take as youths in learning to mitigate the effects of paternal absenteeism, is by learning the history of the father and his experiences, and especially his development, which can even go back to even the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the needs for like certain things like love and belonging, and the lack of those things can contribute to the person that he is. And then we can, if it is a case that we can have an understanding of that particular aspect, we can definitely move forward. And so definitely what I have done is that I have learned about his history, and I put it, I want to say that definitely that my relationship with him just now is like we're friends and we have a really good understanding of each other and so forth and so on. Yes. Yeah.
I'm happy that you and your father are able to connect even though you're not living under the same household, because I think that's also very important. We can't control the outcomes of like the relationship of our parents, but we still want to feel their presence within our lives. So that is also very important. All right. So now I'm going to pose a question to you, Kareem. You said you grew up in a two-parent household. How would you describe your relationship with your father, and how has this affected your view of fatherhood?
Yes, thank you, Ariel. I did grow up in a two-parent household. I must say I've had a healthy relationship with my father. It hasn't always been 100%, but as Dominic said, it pays. It really does help when you're able to know how your father grew up, how they receive love, and that helps you to understand how they now treat you, how they love you, how they show that love towards you. So that those are my points on it. And if Keegan or Garvel has any other thoughts on the matter.
If you have any thoughts you want to share, you can go ahead.
Repeat the question for me, please, Ariel.
We were talking about the presence of if you have both your mother and father in the household. If you do have your father in the household, how would you describe a relation? If you don't, how does this affect your view of fatherhood?
Thank you. Well, I grew up with my father. I've actually had and continue to have a very good relationship with him. Believe it or not, I've probably never argued with my father. And probably because of his temperament, I've never really seen my father argue. And so from looking at the examples that he would have given, I've learned from a tender age that you don't necessarily need to get your point across. There are ways and means to have discussions and work things out. I've also learned, especially when it comes to women, as a man, you're judged twice as hard. And so you have to be very careful of the things you say, because women never forget, and they hold it against you. And they remind you of something you said at 2 p.m. in 1995, and they could take the day. You know, so, and I've also learned a number of things as to what it means to be a man in terms of protection, in terms of what it means to lead your household, not only financially, but spiritually. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I had, because I know it is not something very common. We are in a society now where single parent households are norm. And that is not necessarily how it was ordained to be. And what I'm grateful for, as Gavel is saying, there are a number of young persons our age who did not grow up with their father and who have taken the decision to ensure that when they have children, they are there for their children. And so we are not recycling the proverbial term of fatherless homes. We are now, as this generation, changing young men and young women that come up in the new coming generation don't know what it means to have a fatherless home. They have persons like Gavel and Dominic and Karim there to be very good role models of what it means to be not only a good father, but a good man in their life.
Yes, that's so true. A lot of, we have to do a lot of relearning, both for persons with fathers and without fathers, so that we can help men to become better in society. And I'm glad that you all, regardless of if you grew up with your father or not, are able to take the positive from the relationship that you have and use it to, for those that haven't started family, create better families and relationship with their children. And for those without a family of their own, they're able to influence other men in a positive way. So now we're going to go into some hot takes. So statement, and you will tell me if you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. All right. So this is the first statement, and if you pick any of the options, I'll just say to raise your hand. So I'll say strongly agree, you raise your hand, and so on and so forth. All right, we got it? All right, good. So the first statement, case of an accidental pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy, the father should have the option to opt out of childcare. So if you strongly agree, raise your hand. Agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Oh, Dominic, I didn't see your response. So what's your response?
Strongly.
Okay, so we're all strongly. Since you're already talking, you can just give like a 30-second response as to why.
Why do I think they cannot opt out of? Well, I'd like to think that whenever it is that you're going to actually engage in such a thing, in sexual activities, and of course, an accidental pregnancy occur. Definitely speaking, the father should just not have the option to just decide to opt out, unless like what I put this in a way that I don't want to say that there has to be some form of discussion that goes on in regards to the in regards to everything that happens afterwards, after the fact. I believe that it's responsibility, both parties' responsibility, and that and that especially women, because mostly women go through, and I have to be very understanding of the effects that women go through in doing a decision like this. I like to always leave that even though we always gonna have prior discussion regarding pregnancies, I'd like to always just leave most of the decision regarding, well, to listen to what a woman has to say regarding in the final decision afterwards. So yeah,
Okay.
just not to opt out altogether. I hope I explained it properly.
I think I'm following. All right, let me ask Garvel. So you have children. What about a situation where probably the father feels, okay, like I was under the impression that you were on some birth control or so on, but then you weren't, and now I have to take on this new responsibility. Why do you say strongly disagree? Change your opinion in the case where the father, the now expecting father is like, I thought you were on birth control.
But firstly, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
You hear me, right? Yeah. Firstly, I don't think any childbirth is accidental. That's God gift to man and woman. I don't believe it's accidental. I believe as men we should accept that it's a gift, because we never know. All right, this child could be the prime minister. This child could be somebody who could actually change the world. So I strongly should go to a woman and say, "Hey, I didn't ready for that, and I think you should have abortion." I have 2 kids. My second child was not planned. The first one, yes, but the second wasn't planned, and I love that child. She pity on me. She looked like me, and it's a gift. I don't believe a man or a woman should actually take that away. God give you something. Yes, it was not planned by you, but God decided to give you all. I'm going spiritually, and I believe as human we should accept life. I don't think we should take away life. I am strongly against abortion unless it's maybe rape, then yes. But I strongly agree that child. I always say my children is my inspiration. I remember when I was studying Trinidad to be a traffic controller, I failed my first five subjects. I was like, no, I cannot fail for my kids to see me fail. So I always see my children as an inspiration, and children should be an inspiration for any parent, men as well as women. So I strongly against abortion. I strongly against men should stand up. I may say something. I want to say something, but it's kind of I wouldn't say it. Man should stand up and face real. This is where you should take he or her in the near future. I always think about the future. You put yourself there, take care of what you put yourself in there. That's my take on it.
Thank you. And I see everyone nodding, so I assume you all agree that men should rise to the occasion despite the unexpectedness of it. Okay, so we're going to the next hot take. Providing financial support is the most important role of his family. So, strongly agree. Agree. Disagree. Strongly disagree. Okay, so I saw 3 persons raise their hand in regards to the question. So I'm gonna go with Kareem. Why do you say you guys click 3 persons? Why did you just simply agree in regards to that, Kareem?
Well, I think that the man's role, but that the man has a role in ensuring that his family is well provided for. Not to say that the mother can't work, but I do believe that if the push comes to shove, that the father is expected to ensure that his family is well provided for. So I'm going to use that as a basis to say why particularly the father's role is important in ensuring that his family is supported financially. But not to say that the lady can't also support, but I think the book ends with the father when the push comes to shove. But I don't know if Keegan or Dominic has other points on that, or Garvin, or their thoughts on that.
Okay, let me hear Keegan. Keegan, would you say it's as I agreed, why not then strongly agree? I say that most persons would say it's important, but the question was important. So why you simply just agree versus strongly agree?
No, I agreed because financial provision is a very important aspect of being a father, being the head of a household. However, it's not the only aspect, but I can strongly agree as it being the most important aspect. When most persons look at a man as a provider, finances is usually at the top of the list. And some men are viewed as credit cards or bank cards. Sometimes it's an unfortunate situation, but that's also some men are viewed, especially if you have a estranged relationship with a child's mother. They usually only look at the man as someone who provides a check or envelope with cash at the end of the month. The thing about it is when you look at a father as a provider, it's not only financial provision. You're a provider of protection. You're a provider of emotional support. You're a provider of knowledge. You're so it's not only financial provision. Financial provision has to be a part of it. It is an important part of it, but it's not the most important part of it, because there are instances where there are men who are very well off and can financially provide for their children. And sometimes the children grow up still feeling neglected because the father exchanged his actual presence and gave them presents in terms of gifts and money and finances. And that fills a gap, but it also leaves a void in a child's life, because that child now grows up, though not worrying about any finances, but emotionally drained. They grow up sometimes confused as it pertains to the role and responsibilities of their father and of a man in their life. And so, yes, I agree that finances play an important role, but I cannot strongly agree that it plays the most important role of a man in a child.
I like how you put together that point, especially the point about fathers exchanging their presence with presents. That was nice. Okay, so I see Garvel and Dominic want to share some points, but I'm gonna ask you guys to just make it short and spicy. I'm gonna let Dominic go first and then Garvel.
Okay, thank you for accepting, Ariel. Just definitely what I believe is that comes to I agree. I'm in agreement with Keegan. I cannot strongly agree that financial provision. I like to think that provision towards children is a suit of qualities that come down to how persistent a father is, how fearless a father is, as well as how loving he is, right? And think about it this way. Despite of a man's ability in life, his social status, his economic status, his academic status, whatever it is, his ability to provide comes down to how persistent he is, how fearless he is, and how loving he is. And for a father, for a masculine energy to represent well, they need to have these qualities. So once it is that you can find that a man has these masculine traits, definitely you can see where they can not only provide financially, but also get a response out of their children in allowing them to be persistent, being fearless, and being loving.
Thank you. I like that perspective, looking at the fine not only in terms of the economic importance, but also the mindset of persistence. That's also very important. Okay, go ahead, Garvel, and then we'll move to the next hot take.
All right. So my point there, for my fellow colleagues, is that the most priceless thing is love and care. So you find those kids who actually get financial. That's the reason I'm not strongly agree that those kids always think, all right, if daddy could buy my love, they could buy the way to anything in life. So I believe the most priceless thing there is love and care. And that's my point to back up my fellow colleagues around Trinidad and Jamaica. The most priceless thing, I will always say, is love and care. You cannot pay for those things.
I agree. I strongly agree. Love cannot. Okay, so the next point is the impact of fatherlessness is worse on sons than it is on daughters. So, strongly agree. Agree. Disagree. Strongly disagree. Okay, so it seems like everyone says strongly disagree with that one. Let me hear why do you strongly disagree?
I disagreed.
The impact.
I disagreed.
I disagree.
Oh, you disagree? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the timing was a little off. So it's really on the disagree, not strongly disagree. Okay. So Kareem, explain why you chose that stance.
I chose that stance because I believe that an absent father, that the father has in the lives of a son versus a daughter. I think that we can't necessarily measure it to say that because that the father's role in the son for the son would be a greater effect compared to the role of or to the lack of thereof in his daughter's life. So for that reason, I'd say for both son and daughter, the effect is greatest in both lives. So that's why I'd say strongly disagree versus saying it is worse in the son versus the daughter. I think he has different effects in both lives.
Thank you very, very much, Kareem. So I see what you're saying. Different effects, but the magnitude, in terms of the magnitude, it's probably equal when you think about it. Anyone else want to start with share?
I will
sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have an interesting idea, interesting outlook on the idea itself, wherein the impact of fatherlessness in the household has more of a detrimental effect on the son than the daughter, because I believe that, and I believe that, well, I can only speak to what I know. Most households that I know that involves only a mother figure, that allows their daughter to be a little bit more masculine. I hope in the sense that the fact that there is not a father present in the household and the mother have to be doing most of the things, being both a father and mother simultaneously, the daughter then looks at that and it pushes her towards being more independent for herself and striving for things for herself. And technically, that's not a bad thing, because everyone needs an ounce or some percentage of masculinity to move themselves through the world. The ability to believe that nothing is provided for you and then you need to derive lessons from that to make sure that you're independent enough, not too over-reliant on anyone whatsoever. And I think that's a good thing. I think that and also, whereas it is for a father figure in the household, a source of true masculine energy, can have a detrimental effect on the son, where that son can be looking elsewhere for quote-unquote masculine energy, where in maybe that masculine energy that he ultimately finds may not be a true representation of masculine energy, and that can fuel into how far he reaches in life and the things that happen to him down the road.
Well, let me to contribute.
Thank you
to
for
what
really like kind of looking at oh go ahead.
I'm not sure if you're hearing me. I'm seeing you a bit pixelated. You can hear me, right?
Oh, I was saying go ahead.
Okay, lovely. Dominic made some very salient points that pertains to the difference and the impact of the lack of a father in a house as it pertains to a woman and a young man. And there's an interesting part that I would want to contribute. You see, when a young man is really a mother, you see, sometimes he can see that it's the woman's job to provide, and a woman needs to be doing certain things, and he may sometimes feel as though it is not his role and responsibility in society to provide for a household. So there are some things. And on the contrary as well, a young man could grow up and see his mother providing and be like, he doesn't want the woman in his life to be the provider, and he could also provide. You can get two different sides from looking at the same scenario. For example, there's a story of a twin brother who grew up with a father who was a drunkard. One became a drunkard and one never drank alcohol in his life. And when you ask both of them what would have propelled their decisions, they said that they looked at their father. So you could look at a situation and derive different things from that situation. There are certain conversations that I believe a young man should be able to have with his father, especially going through your developmental stages of life. There are just certain conversations that your mother to tell you about as your father will. And when a young lady grows up with a mother is able to guide her as it pertains to her going through puberty, what to expect, what things to do, what not to do, and how to deal with certain situations. When you, as a young man, you're growing up and you recognize that certain changes are happening in your life, and your mother would be able to give you some insight, but not necessarily the full insight as your father would, because he would have gone through those similar experiences. And so, not strongly disagree, but I would disagree, because a young man needs his father, and also a young woman needs a father, but for different reasons and at different times in their lives for different things. And so both genders would be at a grave disadvantage with the absence of a father.
I agree. And in regards to you highlighting the fact that the absence of a father affects persons differently, we could also look at the fact that a person has positive representation other than their father helps them to be able to take a more positive direction in life in terms of fatherhood. So that is also something to look at as well. All right, so we're going to do one more hot take. So this one says, a woman can effectively fulfill the roles of both mother and father. So, strongly agree. Agree. Disagree. Strongly disagree. Okay, so I believe Garvel said disagree, and the other three strongly disagree, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask Garvel, why did you say disagree and not strongly disagree?
So basically, as my fellow colleagues say in the previous question, which is draw a lot of strong points, is that at the end of the day, you need a young man to be a man. And I have experience where one of my cousins actually grew up with his mom, and he showed more feminine side than masculine side. So I believe, as Keegan said, I hope I have him correct. Clearly said is that you need the father. You only provide the feminine side to let a man understand how a woman feel. The thing I learned growing up with my mom is that you respect a woman. But my stepfather has shown me how to be a man. A mother could only show you how a woman will feel, how a woman will come across with certain point of view, how you could see that side to be a better father or better husband. But a mother can never show you how to be a real man. And to my point is that my mother, yes, she showed me certain particular thing, how to be a man, but not how to be a real man. That's my point there. So the reason why I disagree, and I strongly disagree, is that mother could show you at least 30%, but you need a masculine to show you the other 70%. Because in scientists, I will go to basically biology. I think a couple of people do biology, is that the man is who actually with their genetics, who could be a female and who could be a male, not the female. So it basically that you take a man to teach a boy how to be a man, but it take a woman to show a man how a woman feel when you say certain things, when you do certain things. Because from growing up with my mom and my stepfather, but more my mom, I know what not to say to a woman, how to treat a woman better. But my father showed me how to handle the bills. My stepfather showed me how to handle the be a man. So my thing, that's the only reason I disagree, but not strongly disagree. The mother could show you at least the 30%, because as I said earlier, is the man who actually choose the genetics.
Oh, sorry to cut you. Continue.
No, I'm just saying what I said earlier is a man who could actually choose the gender of a human being, not a woman.
Yes. So I was saying I agree in regards to there are certainly because of how we are socialized as males versus females, it affects our perspective on things, and only a woman can talk about the experience of living as a woman. She can't really fully conceptualize what it would be like to live as a man and also contribute to society as a man. So I do agree that there are some deficits when there is a single mother trying to teach her son and to how to be society. So it is important for them to then gain a fatherhead figure in their life to really get that information that they're missing out on. I also want to hear Kareem's opinion on that in regards to why he strongly disagreed. It was strongly disagree for you, right, Kareem?
Thank you, Ariel. I'm going to be brief because I think you echoed the reason why I said strongly disagree. I think that even if it is the most contribution that a father can give to his son, I think that the mother, as I said, won't effectively be able to teach her son that, because her lived reality is not that of a man. And that's her lived reality is not that of a man. And so that's why I said strongly disagree.
So a follow-up question to you, Kareem, still sticking with you. Do you think there can actually be some positive things that come out of there being an absence of the biological father? And I said biological specifically. Do you think there could be some positives? I'm going to give you like a little time to think about it. I have something in my mind, but I want to hear from the panel.
I would say, I'm thinking the only positive that will come from that is only in the situation where the biological father is, say, abusive. I think that it's very important the father is present, even if it is just physically present. If he can't offer anything else, but even his physical presence, so that the child is able, or the son is able to know, to see how a man behaves, to see how a man behaves in a family, and just have that example. The son is able to, the relationship can be repaired along the line in the future. But I think it is in that case better to have a father at all, if that case, than no father at all. I don't know what Keegan or Dominic or Garwood has on
Anyone
that.
would like to add to that point?
Yeah.
That's a very, 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 very interesting topic in terms of the benefits or the pros of having an absent father. And Kareem rightly said it, if the father is abusive, also if the father is one who engages, in my opinion, in criminal activities. Benjamin Franklin, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, but involve me and I would learn. And so children are very impressionable, especially at the younger stages of their life. And if there's a father figure in the house, and the impression that he is leaving on that child is one that abuse is okay, one that criminal activities is okay, the absence of that figure may be more beneficial to us. And so, notwithstanding that in those minute cases, the absence of the father would be beneficial, the presence of the father in the home will always be the best thing for a child. And as I said, I'm so happy to be on this panel with young men who would have taken the decision to ensuring that the future generation is well taken care of, especially listening to Gavel, seeing the love and passion that he has in terms of how he, as he mentioned, that love and aspects of caring for your children, ensuring that as a young man, you instill those values into your children. Sometimes you have to, as young men, take a look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself the question, if you were to be your father, your exact self was to be your father, would you be pleased? Would you be happy? And if you cannot answer that question in the affirmative and say, yes, I would be happy that I am my father, or the individual that I have become is a good representation of what a father should be, you should now take the opportunity to make the changes in your life to ensure that you don't continue the path of fatherlessness in our society.
Thank you very much, Keegan. That's a good way to think about it. If I were my own father, not me, I'm a female, but you know, a male asking themselves that question is actually a good way to gauge how they can improve and what they are how to do that more. So, in closing, what would you say from each member of the panel young men can do to change this culture of fatherlessness? How can we get the fathers? Probably you can't force any fathers in the home, but you know, what contribution can you do to improve this issue of houses led by single mothers, the absenteeism of fathers? Start with Garvel, as he is a father. Then we'll go to Dominic, Kareem, then Keegan. So Garvel, Dominic, Kareem, Keegan.
All right, so basically I wouldn't be long. I would say to young men, not for the times young fathers abstain because of the relationship with the mother. I think they should put that aside and put the child first. That's what I do. I put my children first. Think about then as someone who didn't grow up with a father, and be the better version of your father, as Keegan said, correctly said. I have to give you applause. What you put it in words that words cannot even explain. You put it perfectly. So I believe that as fathers, we should focus on our children and not on trying to recreate a relationship if you and the mother is not there. Co-parenting could work, and you always have work. So that is my point of view on the whole within the region.
Okay, for me, I believe in that in order to mitigate the effects of fatherlessness in the region, we ought to build more stronger, more inclusive communities where if we find that a particular household is lacking a masculine or a father figure in the household, let's create a network where other men who are fathers can be there in a very special way to emphasize certain masculine concepts to children, to children within the household, so that they can have a true understanding of what it is to be a father and to open their mind to different aspects of life, even like mentorship and so on and so forth. Because a particular person's lived experiences can just be basically what he or she knows and maybe nothing else, but they need to open. If there's something that can be taught to them that they can open up their mind to different perspectives, then that would be a good thing. So stronger, more inclusive.
I want to argue with Garwood and Dominic. I do believe, however, that as young men, how we can change this culture of fatherlessness is by resocializing the culture, by contributing, trying to change the narrative of fatherlessness in our country, in our countries, in our region. So for example, if it is that we're on the field, we're playing football, we are in the club, we are at work, we're at play, and we hear these conversations as groups of young men, we hear the conversation about fatherhood, fatherlessness. We need to add our voices, talking about the benefits of fatherhood, the other ways to be a father, and to kind of show them that this is also possible, you know? So I believe that our role in that conversation, wherever we are, to talk about, you know, the benefits and the beauty of fatherhood when we have that opportunity.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, nice. I would really have to agree with Gabriel, Dominic, and Kareem. We really need to use our influence as young men in society. It is time for make being a good man and being a good father popular again. For far too long, it's been popular to be a single mother, independent. We need to change the status quo. Show society that this generation of young men has returned to reclaim and retake their rightful position in society, to ensure that we have more stable families, more stable relationships, and an overall more stable society going forward. Again, it's time for us to make being good men and being good fathers popular, using the influence that you have in all social settings, in all walks of life. Showcase the things that you do as a man, like Gavel, taking care of his children, and let people be able to now resonate with the fact that, you know, it's to take your role and responsibility. It's actually the right thing to take up your responsibility as a man. You know, have it as a sense of pride that I am a man and I can take care of my family. I am a man and I am taking up the responsibility to ensure that I take care of the generation that would have came from me. Not only came from me, but the generation under my responsibility. So in closing, those are my few words. As young men, let us reclaim and retake our rightful positions in society, ensuring that we eradicate that notion of fatherlessness in our countries.
Thank you very much, Keegan, and all of the panel for sharing your views with me. I am so happy that we were able to gather here together and really discuss this very pertinent topic, for taking the time out of your day. And I'm so actually sad to say that we have to end here. There's so much more that can be said on this topic. It's a very broad topic, but I think that we covered a lot and we were able to offer solutions to this issue. And it sounds practical, you know, it is doable. And I do have faith in the future of the homes that will be built and the family relationships because of men like you. So thank you very much for being yourselves. For those that haven't started a family, when you do, that you'll be able to be a good representation of fatherhood to your children. So thank you all for listening into this podcast episode. And before we end, I just want to allow each of our participants to promote any business, cause, or whatever you would like at this time.
I do not have a business, but I want to encourage all of us as Caribbean people to look out for our country, especially in the time of this issue of climate change. So we're coming up on Labor Day, make an effort to try to replant and replace the trees that we have removed so that we can continue having a beautiful Caribbean of future generations. Right? So Labor Day planting.
That was a good promo, Kareem.
All right. For me, I encourage more young people to get involved in those conversations, not only in fatherless, parental, environmental. I mean, I've been to 2 Caribbean Regional Youth Summit, and trust me, I've gained new friends, and that's the reason why I'm on this panel. So I'm saying, let us see how we could solve our problem in the little Caribbean we have. We are loving people, we are caring people. Let us encourage one another to continue. I've been in Trinidad is my second home, followed by Barbados. But I'm going to Jamaica soon. I'm going to reach to Jamaica soon. I have lots of friends in Jamaica. I think it's open for everybody. I think we should promote our Caribbean culture, interchange, you know, because I think in Grenada we need to be more into the musical level, and I think Jamaica could help us there, because seeing Jamaica is one of the top Caribbean countries when it comes to music. I mean, I love that we are sharing our ideas, seeing how my problem could solution from you, and you get a solution from my problems. I think we should have this more open to more Caribbean countries, so we could actually find solutions to make our Caribbean one people, one Caribbean. That's my take.
Thank you, Garbel, and we'll take those advice in mind. We want to have more representation of the Caribbean countries. Dominic?
Oh, anything I want to promote? Very good question. I don't have a particular business in mind, something similar to what Karen would have said, but I'd like to promote that people within the to be a source of inspiration or tune into sources of inspiration for personal upliftment. Too many of us are caught up with the fast life, to be very honest with you, caught up with just running down money, running down fame, running down a lot of different things that ultimately should not really matter. There are more interesting and more deeper things at play that people need to recognize. People need to recognize that we need to build inclusive communities so that we care and grow spiritually, physically, emotionally, and in every sense, even socially. So that's something that I really want to promote, that people need to learn to be just a source of inspiration for others so that others can attain elevation.
Thank you. And Keegan, anything you want to promote, a cause, business, whatever?
Yeah, I don't have a business to promote either, but I do have a cause. But before I continue that, let me thank Ariel for having us. This was a very fruitful session. Let me thank the Vision Seekers podcast as well. I believe that a number of issues that we have here in our individual islands, we also share. The Caribbean is a connected region, and we all share similar circumstances. And so the circumstance as it pertains to fatherlessness is a drop in the bucket as it pertains to men motivation. I think it's time we create safe spaces for men to have that conversation as it pertains to how can we now ensure that young men feel motivated, feel inclined to now, as I said earlier, reclaim and retake their rightful place in society. For most of the youth organizations that I'm a part of, young women motivate each other. When a young woman gets a position, she sees how best she can motivate the other young women around her. I think it's time for us young men to start motivating each other, start mentoring the young men in our communities, in our societies, to ensure that we create a better community for all of us. As I close, I leave you with these few words. Our aim in life is that we should aspire to inspire greatness and expire. Thank you.
Thank you, Keegan, and all of the panel. I'm so happy to be here, really and truly. And also, I'd like to promote my website. It's a blog called candidpub.com, which speaks about issues facing 20-year-olds. And also, because I'm a medical student, I didn't state that before, I also bring up issues that medical students experience. So that's all for the promotions. And to remind our viewers to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We want to hear from you, and we don't want you to miss any new episodes because we have a lot of bright, inspirational youths that have things to share, and we want to create a platform for those voices. So thank you again to everyone that joined with us. Thanks for your time, and tune in again for our next episode. Bye.
Absent by Candice Garwood. Broken children walking around, expected to piece society together. Empty vessels roaming the streets, searching for the love of a father. Broken girls with aching hearts, yearning for substitutions, to the jagged gaps left in their lives, entering broken unions. Broken boys with fists clenched tight and ready to do the talking, replacing the cries of their jagged hearts, their anger channeled to a jaw or a chin. It may seem to you that they've chosen to idly frolic and torment, but the one against whom they rebel is the one who is absent. Thank you.
This has been an episode of the Vision Seekers podcast. Together we can create a society that benefits us all. Send us an email at thevisionseekers.podcast@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube and Instagram at The Vision Seekers Podcast and follow us on Twitter at Vision Seekers JA. We look forward to hearing from you.